Hey guys, Brian Gleis here from the Scott Agency. My guest is Miss Crystal Hawk. Crystal's an attorney at law that I've had the pleasure of working with for quite a few years now. You've helped me out, you've helped my parents out. We're doing a series of videos on how to protect your assets, all right, because protecting your assets is very important. No matter how you want to say it, it's important. And Crystal is a trust attorney. She works with, what's the proper word? It's not elder law or...
Special needs.
Special needs, yes. She has actually helped us with a special needs trust. When my kiddo was young, I'm not going to go into great detail, but he had a particular diagnosis that we weren't sure how everything was going to work out. Crystal and her team helped us lock things down. Tell us a little bit about what a special needs trust is and why we need it.
Well, if you have a beneficiary who is disabled, and who may be receiving or who may later on in their life because of their disability receive any sort of needs-based government benefits, including Social Security disability, low-income SSI, those types of things. There is a certain way that you need to pass assets on to those types of beneficiaries. If you simply give your assets to those types of beneficiaries outright, or even if you put it in we call it a general needs trust, but that's your average run-of-the-mill trust that you would give to a non-disabled child. What that's going to do is that could potentially cause them to reduce and or completely eliminate any sort of benefits that beneficiary is receiving. So there is a certain way to do it, and you do that using what's called a special needs trust. That's what everyone typically calls them. Technically the proper term is supplemental needs trust, but I'm just going to call it special needs trust for the purpose of this video because that's what everyone kind of talks or knows them as.
Sure, and I know in the beginning when Jacob was about 5 years old, some of the things that we were able to do, Jill and I had to do planning. Now keep in mind, I am in the world of insurance, so risk reduction is important to me. We went ahead and we purchased life insurance so that everything would be okay if we left. Crystal and her team counseled me on that. One of our previous videos, we talked about a money dump. What would happen if I had a money dump to a minor? That's just a bad day. It doesn't work. Legally, it doesn't work.
Correct.
So Crystal set us up in a fashion where if Jacob was a minor, we had individuals that we knew would love Jacob, all right? But as far as the spending of the money, we might need help. So Crystal put in a third party, all right, where my family could still love my young son, but I also had the protection that my money would be handled by professionals, not hamstringing my child, not preventing him, because the person taking care of my child, they may need an additional vehicle or a different vehicle to compensate for that. Crystal made the trust allocate for that. They might even need to add on to their home or change their home to accommodate for my child.
Yes.
Crystal wrote the trust to accommodate for that. So whether we're talking special needs trusts or high net worth trusts or individuals like me, your standard middle of the road trust, surrounding ourselves, you guys hear me say this all the time, surrounding ourselves with individuals that have knowledge that we don't is so important. Crystal's the architect to all of those things. Some people say, I don't have enough money to worry about that. In one of our previous videos, we talked about a 4-letter word, probate. That's not right.
No.
No. But it's kind of, I kind of think of it as a 4-letter word.
Correct.
Probate, if you're not familiar, is this nasty thing that ties your assets up, keeps them from your kids for an undetermined amount of time, and makes everything public. Crystal can keep everything private for me. So now I'm just gushing. You know, people need to talk to you.
Yes.
The Kick the Tires, the free first session is there. She's going to spell out all the costs. But there's that saying that I don't really like, but I've used it a lot. You don't know what you don't know. And man, over the years, between you helping me and my family, you helping my mother and father, who are the nice young age of going to be 82 coming up in November, December, Mom and Dad. Yay! just having that conversation. And Crystal, a lot like me, notice I'm not letting her talk. That's the way this video is going. Crystal, a lot like me, is heavy on the education component, and that is so important. And that's what builds that trust, because she just doesn't say sign here,
No.
and I'll take care of everything. She says, this is what I'm doing, and this is why I'm doing it. What do you want to say?
Oh, I finally get a chance. Thank you. No, we do something at our office and we call it client-assisted design. I don't just pull a form off a shelf and give you whatever I feel is the best option for you. You know, if you do decide to go forward and do planning with me, we will have a specific, usually about 2 hours or so, design meeting. We're going to talk about your family. I'm going to ask you potentially some hard questions. You know, do you have any bad apples in your family? Do we have anything that we need to make sure that we protect against? Do we, do you have children that you trust enough to allow them to be the money managers or the trustees of the trust? You know, all of those different things. And we'll sit down and we'll talk about all of that, and we will design top to bottom a plan that's going to benefit your family, not just a generic form off a shelf.
So in one of our previous videos, we talked about not all lawyers are equal when it comes to creating trust. Now, there's a thing called funding a trust,
Yes.
okay? And I know for a fact that there are some people out there that have paid good money to get this fancy 3-ring binder, and the trust was not funded. There was nothing in it. Will you talk about funding the trust a little bit?
Absolutely. So funding the trust is the process of changing title to your assets over into the name of the trust. So the way that I do things is the very last thing that we talk about on signing day is all of your funding instructions. I always used to say that it's the second most important thing is doing your trust, but honestly, it's not the second most important thing. It is equally as important as doing your trust and getting all of your wishes in place to get all of the assets in there. Because if you don't have the assets in your trust, or the assets titled in your trust, they're going to go through probate to get into the trust. So then you're running back to that whole 4-letter word of probate, and you're stuck in that process again to get all the assets into the trust. So most trust assets, you know, we're going to currently title in the name of the trust. There's a handful of special things that we get into the trust through beneficiary designations, but we sit down, I have a chart, I talk to everybody about it. I say, okay, I know you have this asset, and this asset. Here is exactly what you do to transfer title to those assets.
So there are actual stories where someone has purchased a trust and never funded it.
Absolutely.
And the trust wasn't worth the paper that it was written on. Now I can tell you that the process that I went through, Crystal looked at us and says, can I trust you to do this? All right. And I think that's important because, guys, changing all of your titles over can be tedious. I mean, it's not something you should lay awake at night for. But maybe one of the most important things that Crystal said was that if I can't trust you, you can pay my team, and we'll help you.
Yes.
Yes?
Not my team specifically. We do have an outside company that does the trust funding for us.
Perfect.
I've got a gal for that.
Yeah, perfect. But she helps. She helps, and I think that's so important because we've talked about this before. How many professionals have you worked with in your life that says this is a good idea? Now go do this and let me know when you're done. Me and you don't really play that game. We say
No.
we have to follow through and we have to make sure. Because when you first told me about funding a trust, I told Jill, holy cow, we've got to pay the trust every month. What does that mean? No, that's not what it means.
No.
It means titling. And the other thing that I'm just going to touch on is there are certain assets that Crystal will show you are safe assets. And then there's certain assets that are dangerous assets. Don't need to get into that. What we do need to know here in a second is Crystal's phone number.
Yes.
So anything else before we taper this one off?
Don't think so.
All right. So guys, since Crystal is an attorney, there is some important language that she has to throw at you.
The choice of an attorney is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Hit them with your phone number.
573-221-0080.
Guys, my name's Brian from the Scott Agency, a local insurance agent. I'll have my number down here on the bottom of the screen. Thank you for everything that you do for me and my family. We appreciate your business. We appreciate your trust. Check out our YouTube page. Check out our Facebook page. Give Crystal a call. It's all good. We're here to help. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.